Hey everybody, Zak Nordyke with you here for another episode of Zero to a Million. This is a series where we concentrate on business owners that want to take their business from no sales to $1 million in annual revenue. And today's theme, or what we'll be discussing, is pretty important. Don't run out of money. So, if you have a vision, you got to keep the vision alive, and not running out of money is the number one way to keep it alive. Entrepreneur tip: you always have a chance as long as you don't run out of money. So we really want to concentrate on how you position yourself best to not do that, right? Oftentimes when things are not going well, you get overwhelmed with emotion. And sometimes that emotion can drive you to do amazing things or take risks that you otherwise wouldn't to turn out well. But sometimes it can also blind you to the realities of the situation. So you've got to have you've got to be grounded in some ways, and you have to be ready to quickly react in others that might not be 100% calculated. But the key to not running out of money is just knowing how to straddle both your gut instincts as well as the realities of the world, without letting either one overtake you. Okay. If you're going to operate a company, no matter the size of it, but especially in this early 0 to a million stage of revenue, you got to be very vigilant to not run out of money. So here's a simple and obvious thought process. Obsess about your cash levels. Okay. Have a strong feel for being able to predict what certain things are going to cost, right? Do you have the cash to survive a week? Do you have the cash to survive a month? Do you have the cash to survive 3 months? Understand your cash levels and really do obsess. Check your bank statements. Yes, you know that money isn't kind of slipping away from you, but as you're operating your company, right? Sometimes you have a variety of different projects, a variety of different initiatives going on, and you're not thinking about what's going to come out of your bank, right? You're busy saying we need to do this in order to generate these sales or accomplish this goal. And sometimes we don't pay for particular work being done the moment it's happening. In fact, most work that's being done, you don't pay immediately for. So you got to keep an eye on your cash levels. Again, not that, you're taking too much or somebody's stealing from you, but if you have a variety of projects, a variety of expenses that are taken from your company at different times of the month, you need to be very vigilant about tracking your cash and knowing all the different things you've got going on that, will cost your business money. So you have a strong feel, both concretely by seeing the numbers, but kind of intuitively how much certain things are going to cost. And speaking of cash levels, we know that there's fixed and variable expense, both in personal life and in business life. If you have variable expense on certain projects and your cash levels are not real great, you might want to negotiate to get a more fixed rate from whoever's doing it. If you have an attorney that needs to put together 5 hours of work, you might say, hey, can you cap that there? Or can we say, that it's going to be a certain amount of money, and even if you happen to go over, I'll pay you in advance, so you can kind of take on the risk, and I know how much it's going to be, and how much you're going to make. Make sure that you're, especially if you're in jeopardy, like if you have been, if your sales have slowed, if things have put you in a position where you're, starting to backpedal, your revenues are lowering, your cash available is lowering. Try to get as many variable costs out of your business as you can, and try to make everything fixed, even if inherently some of the services you're receiving are not normally fixed. You've got to start to become a great negotiator. You've got to attempt to negotiate and get things fixed so you can handle it. Also know your credit levels. Nothing could hurt worse than your business isn't generating enough sales to meet the operating expenses and payroll, which obviously is part of the cost of running a business. But don't compound the problem by tapping into a line of credit and somehow being able to meet the expenses of your business month after month, and somehow tricking yourself into believing that you're actually turning profit. If every time you have to tap into either a credit card or another form of credit being issued by a bank to support the operation of that business, and you see no horizon where you're going to be able to pay that line off, whether it's a credit card or, some type of other loaned money from an institution or whomever, you really could be creating quite a nightmare. Because what if you get behind on that? What if you absolutely have to pay all that off? What if you have to shut down the business? Plus you have like these looming debts that you've allowed to balloon up. Credit's wonderful. If you say to yourself, all we need, I'm getting paid by XYZ company for doing this service, but it's just going to take 60 days and I've got these expenses, right? That's where a line of credit's super handy. Your payments that you're receiving are slower than the income you're making. That's okay. As long as the payments you're receiving are higher than the expenses that you're incurring, it's good. Use credit to bridge the difference, right? That happens a lot where you get into a timing issue. Contractors need to be paid, staff needs to be paid, bills need to be paid, right? And the money you've generated from whatever your company does isn't there. It makes sense if it's just a timing issue to utilize your credit to cover that gap of time where you've made the money, it's just not deposited yet and available to bridge. But when you are covering up for lack of sales and you see absolutely nothing guaranteed on the horizon and you're not sure when you're going to be able to make up this operating deficit, that's when you're not using your credit well. And you've got to be sure that you understand, what your credit terms are, and you don't allow yourself to compound a problem that your business just simply is not operating optimally, and you're covering it over by trying to use credit cards and, I guess pretend to yourself that the problem will go away if you can just stay in business long enough. It will, as long as you are sure that you can make your income rise. True confidence. True confidence is when you have a guaranteed amount of income coming in, and you're just, again, trying to bridge that time. True confidence is when you've got sales. True confidence is when your cash balance, all the expenses for sure, right? Like, even at the variable rate, where your expenses are going to land. When you know the outcome of the scenario before it happens, that's true confidence. But just guessing, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. As the owner of an organization, being there day in and day out, you get a certain sense, especially if you're doing the selling for your organization, when deals are going to close. You get in a certain sense what the return, well, it can be measured obviously as well. You might have data on how long a sales cycle is, and you know that you're on the tail end of that cycle and you're going to close deals. You might have strong understanding of your marketing, and that if you're putting XYZ dollars into marketing, you're going to get XYZ leads out and XYZ converted clients or customers, however it goes. But if you don't have any of that data, if you don't have a sale that's just taking a while to get payment for, you're just guessing. Even if you have a really good feel and you don't have the exact data in front of you, remember, you're just guessing. And if your guesses are wrong and they're not based on information, you are deluding yourself. You're making a scenario that you want to be true when it isn't. And yes, you get kind of one time to make a blind bet and maybe it will pay off. But if you do that too often, when you're just guessing, you do not have a sale, you don't know how much the marketing returns in terms of new sales, you don't understand your sales cycle timing well, you're just guessing. So to prevent yourself from running out of money, you've got to be certain that you are basing your decisions off of some type of informed knowledge, your history, your historical understanding of how your business operates. Make sure that you are concretely making choices for the most part off knowns versus unknowns. And if you feel like you're giving yourself a distortion, if you feel like you're distorting reality, which we all do, we're all guilty of this, it's really important to get the help of others. Okay. And it's not necessarily for them to make a choice for you, but it's to let them know, hey, you told me you have no sales in the pipeline, or you have 3 sales in the pipeline. You think that the return on those sales will be this, your operating cost or that. There's a big difference. Your sales and operating costs are malaligned. Basically, you're bringing in less money than you're having to pay out. Another person shouldn't tell you what to do. They should give you perspective on the choices you're making. Is that made with the most sound judgment? Have you considered all the factors? Have you really taken into account, the reality? Maybe you're being too pessimistic, meaning you're being too hard on it. Like you think that things won't work when they have historically worked, and it appears that they're on the cusp of working. We can get too doubtful of ourselves, but we also can get, and I'm speaking about somebody who's owning and operating a business, an entrepreneur, we can also get too we can idealize things that are not ideal. Our key is making tough decisions, whether it's choosing not to engage with a contractor, regrettably siloing a team member or putting them on leave, or regrettably having them to let them go altogether. We have to figure out, and it's often done best with the help of an outside perspective, what it is we need to do to keep our business running and from running out of money. So seek the help of an outside advisor that really understands you and your business to make sure you're making the most informed decisions possible. Helping yourself. I think one of the keys to thinking about keeping a business operating during a tough time, right? We all go through the moments of challenge, is you've really got to take time to help yourself. You cannot, we want to work sometimes 20 hours a day when things are just blistering hot. That is, in my own experience, one of the silliest things you can do over the long haul. There's going to be times where it's going to be night and day to get certain things done, but you got to help yourself by stepping back from the situation sometimes, letting your mind process really what's going on, making sure that you are doing your own sanity check. So help yourself sometimes when the heat gets turned up, just to maybe stop for one day or only do the bare minimum so you can truly process. So another key to not running out of money or keeping a business operating during tough times is by stepping back and analyzing your own self. And I think the other thing that you have to do is make sure that you're imparting your confidence or the reality on anybody that's working with you. You will be surprised when you're honest, even if the company's not doing well and you've made proclamation maybe at a different time period that things are going very well. Like when times change and maybe what you thought was going to happen doesn't. I think if you're honest with the people around you that are working on the business with you, they will support you. Often they will appreciate your honesty. Yes, it will probably concern them, but I think your openness to share where you're at and what you're going to do, and I think that this is important, having them understand what you're going to do about the issue at hand and trying to give them specific ways of being able to assist and help build the business back up is key. So I think giving yourself a little bit of time to step back and analyze, and giving those that support and surround you and running that business the honesty and the information necessary to support the business and support you with the vision you have is absolutely critical. So don't run out of money, and anything can be fixed and changed and done better as long as you can continue to stay in business. So stay calm if you're in a challenging spot, and make sure that you're analyzing with the most information you can, and also trusting your gut to the degree you have historical insights to do that, and make sure you're being honest with those around you that are helping you build that the company that you've got. Until next time, be well, and we will talk soon on future videos.